Om. Welcome. Thank you, Marlon. That was beautiful. True talent, true skill right there, and a flow, real flow. So I was told that the topic was sadness, and that when I heard that topic immediately, I thought of happiness as the polar opposite. So I like that idea that there's a time to be happy and a time to be sad. And actually it's kind of appropriate to feel sadness at certain times and joy at other times. And that's kind of the beautiful state of the human condition to experience. In fact, the emotions are really, to me, beautiful. In fact, the times when I felt the most happy or the most sad were times of loss, when I had lost something that was dear to me. And I was really enjoying the sadness. And one of my practices is to sort of dive into the sadness and experience it fully, rather than go out to a bar or something and drink in order to get rid of my sadness. You see what I mean? Because I always felt that if I would go and try to suppress it with some other activity, that sadness would stick in me and stay, and it wouldn't be cleared. So now I have a real strong intention to fully experience the emotion and have an intention to release, just like I described in the meditation, where the clouds come and the clouds go. So I could be like the sky. The sky isn't identifying with the clouds and saying, these clouds are mine. Similarly, why do we say, I am sad? I'm a sad person. Because it's an identification. So we can be like the sky and allow sadness, happiness to come and go. And that is a powerful clearing practice. And one other way that I work on clearing emotions, because sometimes they stick, is through what I call a clearing journal. And a clearing journal is when, you write on the journal, clearing journal, first of all, and then you have an intention that when you open it up and you write out whatever emotion, that you say, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. So it's a release journal. Anything that comes through my pen onto the journal, it's a release, it's a letting go of that. I recognize this is a passing cloud, and I'm letting it go. And literally, I have journals and journals of endless emotions. Anger, sadness, despair, hurt, pain, suffering, insecurity, all that stuff. And I write it down, not to complain how miserable my life is, but rather as knowing that this too shall pass. And it's amazing, when you have your clearing journal and you're writing, it drains out through your pen. Way easier to release compared to, I just need to go out and have a smoke or something. It's like I want to totally be present with, let's say, the sadness that I'm experiencing. Let's say, if there was, for instance, with the shooting. And, feel even like the collective sadness of the whole nation, let alone the world, of people feeling like, why does this continue to happen? And as I clear, I change my vibration as it starts to sort of flow through me and be released. And then what is revealed out of that clearing is the opposite, which is pure joy and happiness. As I shift my vibration, my energy, now that is how I make a difference in the world. I may not be a powerful politician or a great decision maker or a huge activist or something like that. But the fact that I'm doing my own clearing is making a difference in the collective consciousness, my own inner shift. Therefore, I feel that the greatest responsibility we have is to work on our internal state. And if we can shift that, others will naturally shift. So as my inner radiance or happiness begins to arise, everyone will be affected. You'll feel the vibration. I won't even have to say anything. But somehow I'm beaming this message, what I call energy or transmission of happiness. Everyone gets it. And this has been my path for a long time. So I'm a saint chaser. I made that term up. So a long time ago, I started chasing after saints. I thought, how can these beings be happy, joyous all the time? I want that. Because as it is now, or was before, if I got sad, I would probably go and eat chocolate. As an example, just for me personally, that may not be your thing. But chocolate was like a great euphoria. I loved it. And it got me out a little bit, at least for like 30 minutes. And I was feeling some happiness. But I thought, this can't keep going. I don't want to rely on substances to make me happy. I want my drug to be my soul. That sounds so weird. My drug is my soul. Because the soul, as it starts to peak out, the natural kind of like qualities of the pure soul are bliss, happiness, peacefulness, sweetness. I was going to say cuteness. I just made that one up. Cuteness. I'm not saying you turn into like a little baby or something but kind of. You're like an innocent baby. And it's just so cute to be around a person who's awakened their soul. So I thought, okay, so I'm going to learn from these saints. So I went, and one of the ones I saw for quite some number of years, his name was Baba Haridas. Did you ever meet Baba Haridas in Mount Madonna in the Santa Cruz Mountains? A saint who had been in silence for 40 years because his spiritual master had told him, it's time for you to be in silence, this is your spiritual practice. And then so the only way he communicated was like a little chalkboard and he would write words. So he had to be really pithy and really like succinct whenever someone asked him a question. What does the meaning, because they ask him things like, what's the meaning of the universe? Just small questions like that. And he'd be like, peace be with you. Or I don't know, something to that degree. So he would that was his message. Was through his chalkboard, a little tiny chalkboard. So he couldn't write much. So, because you know why? His real teaching emanated from him. People traveled from all over the United States to be with him in silence, to feel his power, his transmission of joy, bliss, love. And that was palpable in the room. So I didn't care if he wrote in his chalkboard or not. It was good enough just to sit in the silence with that saint. And bit by bit, I started to clear my depression, because the major issue I had was depression before. I didn't know why there was this sort of underlying grade of depression. Nagging. There was something off. Just kept going and going. And I said, I don't know if this is ever going to clear. Maybe this is just part of me, my personality. You've ever felt like a characteristic where it just seems impossible to break through? That was one of them. So bit by bit, year by year, as I started to attune to these different saints, my happiness level grew and grew naturally. And it wasn't because somehow my life got better, like so-called happier circumstances were happening. How people normally define it as like, when you get married, or in fact, opposite things start, people start falling away, fewer friends. I became so-called homeless. That's why they call me a wandering monk, because I don't have a home, if you didn't know. So like things that people would say were really difficult and hard in life, and yet my happiness level kept growing. I'll give you an example. This is a great example. When was it? Thursday, I went to the Center for Spiritual Living in Lancaster, which is where I'm living now, temporarily at least. Thursday was my gathering at 7 p.m. Walked in, no one was there. Sat down, 7 o'clock, started, no one was there. And I just started doing the gathering, because it was streamed online, by the way. So there were others. And so went through the whole gathering. I forgot what the topic was. And at the end of the gathering, I was just at the height of happiness. So much joy. This is a change. If no one had showed up to my gathering in the past, I would have been moping, and complaining. Because the sadder I am about it, the more I'm going to find other people to complain about what happened to me, just so I could get some consolation. And so I go home, and I'm staying with this couple, and I said, "How was your gathering?" I said, "No one came." He said, "Oh, that's so sad. Actually, I feel fantastic." And they kind of looked at me, okay. And I began to realize it didn't matter whether people showed up or not. The fact that I'm beginning to commune with my own soul is good enough for me. So my attachment to whether anyone would come and listen started to fall away. And I had that for years. So what a change. And as I said, it has been because of the consistency of what I call sadhana. You know the word sadhana? Sadhana means spiritual practice. Deep introspection, the journaling, the mantras, the meditations, the breath practice, the self-reflection and trying to change, to see life differently, to try to find the silver lining in everything, which has been a big practice of mine too. All of that, bit by bit, has been really transforming my being. And now there's a sense of radiance, and what I would call it an inner sun. So any clouds, such as sadness, that come so quickly get burned away by the radiance of that sun. So fast. So whereas I could be sad for a long time before, days, maybe weeks, now not so. Maybe max an hour or two, and then shining again. That inner radiance is what each person needs to focus on. Whether things go right or wrong in your life, whether things fall apart. I'm talking about falling apart, like you lose all your money, you lose your house, you lose your wife, you lose whatever it is. You continue to say, still, I have my soul. I think there's a song about that. I don't care what happens, if the world collapses, I have my soul. And in that inner space are all the godlike qualities that you are looking for. Just touching that is enough. Then ups and downs in life do not affect your emotional system. You're steady. What's the word? Equanimous? Sounds right. Just like that. So you're now not like on the ocean. This is a really good metaphor. When you're on the top of the ocean and bobbing up and down, you're getting seasick and tired and like just drinking salt water. I mean, it's like really tough to be on a raging ocean. But if you dive, even just sort of 10 feet down below, what I call soul, you're more into your soul consciousness. You don't even feel the waves. So the whole world could be falling into despair and worry about what's going on, and you're like this. And and when you're like this and unaffected by the consciousness of the world, then you can serve. Then you can help. Then you're in a state of mind where you can generally be there for people. Otherwise, if you're on the wave, all you're trying to do is navigate your own life and your own troubles. You don't have the bandwidth to help anyone else. So why not work to become steady of emotion and mind so that if there is a major disaster, you're okay, you're not panicked. You're just simply going around saying, how can I help? Can I do something for you? Right? That is power. It reminds me of the story of Jesus in the boat with his disciples, and the boat is like seemingly about to capsize with this huge storm coming down on them. And Jesus is like in the back of the boat, just lying and just so relaxed. And of course, all the disciples were panicked. Remember, this is a metaphor for our life. Huge metaphor. So, and then finally one of the disciples comes to him and says, Master, don't you see that we're about to perish? We're going to perish. And you're just lying there. Right? You're going to help. And you know what he does? Simply stands up, goes to the front of the boat, and says, something like, peace be with you. Peace. Be still. The whole ocean becomes still. And then, of course, the disciples were shocked. And he says, why do you fear? Why don't you trust? Where's your faith? God is with you on this boat, and you're still worried. In the flesh, and you're still concerned. Why do you worry? Maybe he could have said, don't worry, be happy. So when you're still inside, that means that literally you can have the power to still the elements. That was just a manifestation of his own mind. Christ's mind is in complete stillness. So that's why you have the power to be able to command the elements like that. Walk on water, make an eclipse of the sun, whatever it is that you decide to do, because you've mastered your mind. You master your mind, you realize, my God, everything is me. This whole manifestation is me. This is the principle of unity or oneness. But until you quiet your mind, it's always going to be on the top of the ocean, worrying about how to make things okay. Hence the message today, don't worry, be happy. So then I just want to speak about one more thing, which is the process of quieting the mind so that the emotions don't dominate you. How do you do that? I kind of described it already about the journaling, the breathing, the contemplation, the self-reflection, all of that. But I'll tell you that there's one key regarding this. And that is a passion to find your soul. If you don't have that motivation, that strong desire to find your own soul, then what I would call that is a more of a wishy-washy state where you don't know what you want. You've got to know what you want. You've got to be on board. If it's half-hearted, the world's going to sweep you away. So before, I had a great passion for winning. When I was in running or soccer, academics, intense desire to win. So strong that if I lost a race, I'd be crying. I wouldn't even want to talk to my parents. They were just trying to congratulate me. And I was like, go away. I placed second. We can laugh at it now. So, so, once I redirected that passion towards soul, towards God, whatever you want to call it, now it's the so-called straight and narrow. I'm heading in that direction. All my actions, my thoughts, even now, it's like the mind is saying, how is this all just the play of God, right? It's always heading in the direction of the soul. And then my actions are for how can I be of service? My words are how can I soothe? How can I encourage? How can I be kind through words? So everything that comes from this being is striving to be in alignment with the soul. And so then I like to share that, because maybe that passion could rub off, even if it was just one person. If not, this talk is in a way not for you. It's for my own soul. They sound kind of funny. But it's to save my own soul. And in turn, that energy into the collective consciousness. Sadness just melts in the face of soul consciousness. No more. Worry, gone. Like a puff of smoke, gone. And so much freedom in that. Because you know why? I can be myself. Not like I'm giving up something. I can be myself. No more worry. Then I'm not like, what should I do next in order to secure my safety? Now I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm free. I'm not bound by the insecurity. Do you see what I mean? Once I get caught in those egoic chains, and my heart's chained like that, there's no chance for my soul. So sometimes I have to do the opposite of what my ego's saying. Oh, so you're afraid to jump, to, let's say, speak in front of, 1,000 people or something. Okay, so let's do it. Feel the fear. Go through it. That's how you break through egoic tendencies, is you do the opposite of what that ego is telling you. My mother, when I was 14 years old, said, Brian, it's time for you to go to Toastmasters. You need to learn how to do speaking. I said, there's just no way. Come on, son. So we go, and I'm like trembling in cold sweat, trying to talk to a group of people. I thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to speak in front of people. This is too terrifying. What am I doing now? What? See how that old Brian doesn't even exist anymore. In place is just freedom. So I wanted to conclude just by saying, I would love it if you could come and join me today at noon in satsang, the gathering that I'm holding. We're going to actually be doing chanting, and chanting for me has been a huge practice for dissolving the Brian, because he's a made-up character. I made him up, and now he's dissolving. Chanting has been a huge aspect of that dissolution process and changed me radically. So this is my only kind of statement about that. You're totally welcome to come and join at noon. And I appreciate everyone being here and also supporting me and inviting me here. And also thank you to Reverend Gregory, who believed in me to even share to the two churches while I'm here, at least temporarily. So wishing you many blessings on your spiritual journey, and namaste.